Today I'd like to share with you some of what I've learned about forgiveness. And part of why I want to share it is because it did not come easy to me. I have been someone who really held on to resentments and regrets and blame. I used to be so interested in blame and holding on to stuff. And I've absolutely learned that there is nothing that I want to hold on to anymore. I'm only interested in being in the free flow of love. So if you've been listening to the Living A Course in Miracles teleclass, then you know that in the forgiveness classes, I was quoting from my favorite lesson in the workbook, which is number 68, Love Holds No Grievances. And here's the quote that I was sharing because it means so much to me. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are, as it is certain that those who forgive will remember. So when we hold on to a grievance, we literally are obliterating our ability in that moment to remember our true identity as the perfect givers and receivers of love. Because when we're holding a grievance, we're saying that we're more interested in our opinion about how things should have been, how they could have been, how they might have been, than we are in love. It means that we have formed an opinion or a judgment that we think is so precious and so special that we would rather hold on to that and believe that it's true than have a life of love, have a life of abundance, have a life of prosperity, have a life of wholeness. So this is where we have gone into literally withholding love and blocking love from ourselves and everyone else in our life when we're holding on to grievances. Now, I used to be such a grudge holder. My favorite joke is, what do you get when you cross an Irishman with a gorilla? You get a gorilla who holds a grudge because you take the dominant characteristics, blah, 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 blah. So me, I have a lot of Irish in my background, and that always made me laugh because I was such a grudge holder. I thought, that's me. If you took me and a gorilla, you'd get a gorilla who holds a grudge. Because it was just such a part of what I thought was my nature. But I have learned that my true nature is to be loving and to be compassionate. And it took me deciding to forgive everything and everyone in all directions of time and space in order to open my heart and mind to really understanding what true forgiveness is. Course in Miracles tells us that what true forgiveness is the realization that what's happening in this worldly experience is really an illusion. However, the way that I like to work with it and the way that makes sense to me is to realize that everything that I am experiencing within this illusion is part of divine will. It's part of an experience of divine will. The divine will can never be circumvented or superseded. The divine will is always operating for my good. And what the illusion is all about is having an experience of what would it be like if you could have your own will, if you could have free will. So that's what we're having here in this illusion, is an experience of free will. However, there is only the will of God. There is no free will. It's just an illusion. So when we align with divine will is always loving. And so whatever our experience is here to teach us. It is here to help us wake up from the dream of separation. Whatever our experience is a projection of our mind. And because what we're experiencing is a projection of our mind, it's here to teach us to have dominion over our mind. That is the law of cause and effect in our life. So our thoughts are always creating. Course in Miracles teaches us that All thought produces form at some level. Our life, our experience of our life, is form at some level. So if there was no law of cause and effect, we would have no way out of the dream of illusion and separation. Thank goodness every single one of our thoughts produces form at some level. Because when we're interested in aligning with divine will, then what we see is we start choosing love more and more and more. We choose compassion and patience and kindness. And we become so interested in that we align with our true nature as the perfect givers and receivers of love. And we release the sense of separation from each other and from our divinity. Now here's how forgiveness plays into this. True forgiveness is realizing that everything that you're experiencing is bringing you the benefit of the learning. Everything that you're experiencing is the effect, and the cause is thought. So everything that we're experiencing has an ability to teach us, to help us wake up from the dream of separation. If we're in unforgiveness, then we're denying the opportunity to harvest the learning. And so what I believe is that, as A Course in Miracles teaches us, the contract of our life has already been written. The script has already been written. And if we're denying the opportunities that we have to undo the sense of separation, to undo the ego attachments, by creating more attachments, which is what unforgiveness is. If we're anchoring ourselves in creating more attachments, more resentments, more regrets, more blame, more shame, more thoughts of revenge, we'll never be able to undo the illusion in our mind, because we're not interested in undoing the illusion. We're interested in creating more, fabricating more stories about what should have been, what could have been, what might have been. Now I get that this is not easy, and I have been hurt, I've been violated, I've been betrayed, I've had all of those experiences in my life. Some people have had more horrific experiences, and some people have had less horrific experiences. We don't need to go into comparison. Comparison doesn't do us any good whatsoever. The opportunity here is now. Do you want to recreate more of the same experience? Or would you like to harvest the learning from the experience that you've already had? If you're in unforgiveness, you are denying the learning of your experiences. And you're forcing yourself to create more because of the thoughts that you're thinking, since all thought produces form at some level. So you're in a catch-22. You're either going to decide to harvest the learning of your past experiences, which means releasing your judgments of thinking how it should have been. That's what's required. You must be willing to let them go. And if you're really having a tough time forgiving, I understand. I can tell you, I've had instances that were so hard to forgive. 100 times a day I would say, I forgive that, I release that, I'm not interested in those judgments and opinions anymore, I'm done with that. Now I'm interested in love, and only love. I'm interested in forgiving myself for putting myself in those predicaments. I only want to harvest the learning. And I have prostrated myself, surrendered and surrendered over and over again, because it took me hundreds and thousands of times of surrendering to finally get to the place where I actually was willing to let that opinion or judgment go. That's how rough it was sometimes. And I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for how it was, because how it was taught me that when I was really, really ready to release the judgments and stop thinking that I knew how it should have been and how it should not have been, then I could see that there was benefit and learning in what was. Not easy for me to understand, not easy for me to discover and live and take into my heart and take into my mind. But until your heart and your mind are congruent with love, You will always feel out of balance. You will never know your true identity. And you will miss all the good that there is here for you. And not only that, you won't really be able to bring the benefits that you intend to bring as a spiritual being to your life, to your friends, your family, your community, your loved ones, to the world. You are here to be the perfect giver and receiver of love, and to remember your true identity. There is nothing else here more important. Being right is not important. Making others wrong is not important. There's no benefit from that. If there was benefit from that, wouldn't you have discovered it already? Are you tired of making yourself sick about something? Would you be willing to invoke your own higher Holy Spirit self into your heart and mind and say, I surrender these thoughts. I'm not interested in them anymore. I'm only interested in love now. I don't know what should have been. I don't know what could have been. I only know that now I'm interested in love. Now I'm interested in true compassion and forgiveness. So you can see that any act of forgiveness is an act of self-love. And any act of self-love is shared with all beings because we're one with them. It's really that simple when we're willing to let go of our judgments and opinions. And that is the opportunity that you have here today. So this is why on my blog at jenniferhadley.com, I have posted my forgiveness letter. And that forgiveness letter is a process that you can use to help forgive, to help yourself forgive. I've used it so many times, and many times I've even resisted using it, thinking, I don't need to sit down and make time to write the letter. I can just forgive. And then after a couple of hours of ruminating, or a couple of days or weeks or whatever, finally I say, Jennifer, sit yourself down and write that forgiveness letter. Enough already. You have poured enough of your precious life energy into this already. Whew, let's clear it out. And then I'm amazed at how as soon as the letter is done, I feel so much better. The healing has arrived. Now, sometimes we have to write multiple letters. We have to write a letter to ourselves and other people. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, because there's no good that can come from investing your precious life in holding on to resentments and regrets and grievances and thoughts of revenge. That's no way to live. We are here to live in love, to love out loud. LOL. And when you go to my blog and you see the forgiveness letter, you'll have to scroll through the blogs until you get to the forgiveness letter. But on that page is also a forgiveness prayer. So I invite you to listen to the forgiveness prayer and join with me. Invoke the Holy Spirit into your mind. Invoke divine grace to sit with you as you write the letter. Give yourself the gift of freedom. Your life is precious. Harvest the wisdom from your experiences. Let the past go. Let the dead bury the dead. And be here for the living. Love out loud.